So Megan, why swag? What's the story about swag?
That's a great question, Lisa. So I think swag is useful for a lot of things. It's brand awareness. So it's giving people things that they can then wear with your logo or your tagline or something about your company, whether it's a shirt or socks, just getting your brand out there. It's also a great way, at least the biggest reason I think a lot of our clients do it is a way to get people into the booth. So clients are always looking for a really engaging, interesting item to draw people in, and then you kind of capture them into having those conversations. The downside to that is then you attract more swag goblins, as I affectionately call them. So if you have like the coolest t-shirt or the coolest item on the floor, you're getting a lot of people in and you're having conversations, but then you're also increasing the number of people that are just there for free stuff. But yeah, those are in my experience, those are the two reasons. I don't know if anyone else has thoughts on why their companies are doing swag or what they've used swag for in the past. And I think everyone should be able to unmute themselves. So
yeah, anyone want to bravely come on?
Yeah, I could go ahead and come on. Hi, everyone. My name is Ricky. I'm over at Mesmo. So we like using giveaways, like a larger prize item, and we actually do it like on a QR code. And the whole like practice of that is to gain insights. So on that form that they fill for the giveaway, it's actually a survey. So we could collect more information like from that specific audience that we're targeting. And it's been working really well and getting some insights and like more information of how we're going to develop our product.
Yeah, that's perfect. I love that. Anybody else?
I can chime in. Recently, my name is Ala. Recently, we started using these, with one of my clients, we started using the tiers of swag, you know, exactly what Megan said. The goblins, we call them freeloaders. Kind of feel bad, but I know it's a safe space and you all understand what I'm saying. So there is a lower tier for freeloaders. It's basically, especially at the events that are free, and you know that the quality of the leads is going to be significantly lower from the events where people actually pay for their attendance. So that way you can basically draw the line between the people who are just after t-shirts and they will come to your booth and they ask specifically for a t-shirt. They are not interested in your product or them or anything like that. But then we added a layer of, okay, would you like to see a demo? After asking a couple of questions and making sure this is actually a good fit for the demo, would you like to see one? And they sincerely agreeing to see the demo, and then surprised, they actually get a higher tier of swag, which at the last reInvent, we did the sunglasses, Gooder sunglasses, and we didn't brand them. So it wasn't something like a $3 cheap glasses. They were really good quality glasses. So people were super happy. And then the third one was actually, would you like to schedule a one-on-one with us? And we never even promised them anything. So they actually signing up because they interested in the product. And after signing up for one-on-one, same day, on the next day, they get even more expensive swag. So, and they get to choose from like a pop-up shop. So we figured that actually making these making different levels and not promising them anything in advance, it cuts off like a lot of freeloaders and leave us with solid leads that actually convert in the future, because they're like, oh, okay, I did that and they rewarded me for something like that, you know. So it kind of worked very well. And yeah, I'm definitely trying to push this idea and encourage everyone to use that because it works.
Would you just not then display your t-shirts or something? Because then someone doesn't come up and you don't have to tell them no, right? That's always the hardest part, is sitting there and being like, actually, no, you cannot have this. Because like they'll listen to a demo because
Yeah.
they don't care, right? And so then you're wasting time on everybody. So then you just don't display it, and then you just tell them like after they get the demo, like here's your shirt or whatever.
We actually we displayed t-shirts, and we would give t-shirts like everyone, regardless, and we would just scan their badges and hand them over a t-shirt. And then the second tier is basically, yeah, they are like, oh, let me grab those sunglasses, and we're like, whoa, slow your roll, you need to do the demo first. And they're like, oh, some people not even like ready to do that. They're like, I'm like, yeah, glasses, okay, cool, but not ready. So, but yeah, you just have to cut them off there. So that's your job.
So one of those tiers is just for brand awareness still. So you're still being friendly and giving out swag.
sure.
It's still visible.
Mhm.
And then you've got the gated tiers for demos and
Yep.
scheduling a meeting and stuff like that. Yeah, that's
Yep.
great.
Yep. hmm
Anyone else?
This is a little adjacent to,
Oh,
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Megan.
Oh, I was just going to ask if anyone kind of adjacent to that. I've started to get clients when we're filling out like the lead retrieval questions or the like hot, cold, warm. I have been recommending to add like a swag only, because I think that is different than a cold lead. A cold lead is like, this product isn't for you, or something in my mind that is unrelated to I'm just here for a t-shirt. And I've had a lot of success with it. I think a lot of clients are seeing like how much stuff they're just giving away. And so that's factoring. But I didn't know, Alla, if that's something you guys are tracking, where are you even scanning the people that are just there for the t-shirt, or how are you handling that with the tiers?
Yeah, so that's a great question, because it's like from event to event, how they introducing different lead retrieval devices there. So with AWS, it's pretty easy because what they giving to you is basically customizable. And so what we created is a custom after scan menu. So we scan everyone, but it's basically the next step, how you indicate them. And that makes it a little bit easier to work with this data, because anyone who grabbed a t-shirt, they get like no indication. So it's just the default data from AWS, for instance. If they grabbing t-shirt but they willing to do the demo, we just indicate that they did the demo actually. So we just scan them and send them to the demo area, for instance, and we just indicate it on the device. So yeah, and the higher, the more indications we go, and it's pretty easy to do that. But I mean, you can implement this at any event if you like use similar devices there, or even like Ricky said, they use the form to fill out. You can do that as well, because at one of the events we would set up a headshot bar at the booth, and a lot of people were just coming there just for the headshot. So, and that's what we did. We just scanned them and then we collected their data on the iPad, because they were entering their emails to receive those headshots. So one way or another, you're gonna get those leads regardless.
Okay.
Yeah, I can. Oh, sorry. Hi, everyone. Grace from HashiCorp. I just said +1 to everything that Anna has said. We do kind of a very similar thing. We keep swag that is meant exclusively for higher tier leads in the cabinet. It's not being promoted by any way. And then in our terms of our custom lead survey, our very first question asked, we have a differentiator of like swag or product. And if it's hit swag, it kind of skips every other question. And that's really all we need to know about that lead is, and then if we hit product, that means that we had some kind of interaction, some conversation, a demo, one-on-one, etc. And that, so all of that goes back to the teams. And then it's lovely to see the history of a lead if they did come for just swag, and then maybe they came to a workshop, and then they came to a different event, and it was more product related to conversation there versus just swag. So our whole team likes to know all of that history, that life cycle of that lead. So +1 to all of that.
So that's something like AWS reInvent, right? When people are just like that opening day grabbing swag, how do you guys make sure your team is filling out those lead devices with like the swag only or whatnot? Because at some points in time, like we try to do that and then it's like complete chaos and we can never actually get that done. You go back and redo it like at the night. Or because like having everyone have their own scanner, like that's the other part, because then that gets expensive as well. Is it worth that cost and whatnot? I've done it a couple different ways.
So it depends on the level of your client, how much money you have, all sorts of stuff. But I am a hustler, so I always have my cell phone. So I start with that scan and I tell the people like, hey, I've got them in there. And then depending on who I handed off to, like at AWS reInvent, it was happening so quick. I would literally like write down the name, take a picture of the human who had them. And then as soon as that person was done, I'd go over and say, here's the scanner with their notes, add the notes in here. So that can sometimes be what the marketing people do to just hold your team accountable. The other thing is making sure your team is writing notes, right? So it's like, if they can write those darn notes, get their notepad out and then go in and they do they'll just need a break in their schedule to go back into the scanner. Sometimes it's hard to find those leads and go back. But if you do it post the show, you're never going to get the data.
Yeah, absolutely. I will also say I'm a bit of a vulture when it comes to lead scanners, and especially for something like reInvent. What I had I had staff trainings like literally before every shift. I had all of my staff come prior to show open. We went through lead by lead, not lead by lead, but like how are all at reInvent, everyone was at like their own kiosk. And so I had kiosk specifics to that lead that I had customized in terms of getting leads. So I was able to know how many leads were coming from which kiosk and making sure those teams were accountable to, hey, I'm not seeing a lot of leads. I know you're having a lot of conversation. I need you to put your notes in, et cetera, et cetera. And really, it'll get annoying. Your team might say, stop it, but be a vulture. And everyone has to do the notes. And I will sit there and watch you take notes, and I will come up to you and be like, hey, I saw this with a 5-minute conversation. Did you take notes? And they're all like, yes, Grace, no, Grace. You got to be on top of it.
I also send I send for a lot of events now, I send the lead list like immediately after the shift ends that day. And this is always kind of approved with, the manager, since we don't work for those companies. But I'll be like, this is the plan. As soon as that expo closes at 7 p.m., you are going to get the lead list, and you have until you are back on the floor tomorrow morning to add your notes. And there are then for lack of a better term, repercussions on their side with their managers of like, if you have a lead that doesn't have a note, like you don't get to go to any more events. It depends on how bad the teams are with it, but sending that lead list every night with like, here it is, I've sorted everything by date or time or hot, warm, cold, however we decide, just putting it in front of them has also helped a lot with some of our clients to just force them to take that 15 minutes and put in notes. Because when you're on the floor, it is hard, especially those devices, they suck. It's worse than texting like T9. So yeah, that's one way that we've been successful in getting people to put that information in, just putting it in front of them and saying, you don't have a choice.
A couple more things to add. It's definitely worth investing in extra devices. Believe me, it's like $350 per device, like additional device. But believe me, at the end of the day, you'll be like, hell yeah. Like, I'm glad I invested in it. First of all. Second of all, actually what helped, I agree, Megan, text messages, no, but one chat where you adding your like SDR team or whatever team that can follow up and actually like complete your notes there. So what we figured out, that creating one chat for everyone who's scanning, who has access to those leads, we basically would drop a name there and add a note to that name. And at the end of the day, this is how you basically filter in everything, because you didn't forget about it, you didn't write it on the piece of paper that you lost by the end of the day, but one like consolidated chat, that is a lifesaver for sure.
Yeah, I love that idea, because then it is documented. It's not in a notebook. Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to the next topic. So our next topic is, what do you guys feel is the most significant changes in swag strategy this year compared to last year? Megan? You were on mute, Megan.
Sorry,
Welcome
it's
to
my
the
first
virtual
day.
event.
It's my first day. So the biggest trend I've seen is a lot of events going low swag or no swag. I've actually had 2 events thus far in 2023 just say, do not send shirts. We will return them to sender. They take up too much room. They're too heavy. We don't want them. So a lot of places are just saying this is a swag free event. Yes, you can bring something if you want, but it has to be small. We're not going to store it, or not allowing certain things like shirts, water bottles. And I've seen a lot of accounts really trying to scale back on just having something for everyone. It's more intentional and more focused on you, and there's more of a focus on the like transaction part of it, right? Like instead of just like I scan you, you get something and you walk away, like you have to commit to something where it's a demo or scheduling a meeting, like really making people work for it a little bit, which I'm a huge fan of. I understand the value in just like having something for everyone, but it's really expensive. And when you start factoring in materials handling, which I don't know how many people actually pay attention to that, but it's between the beginning of 2022 to now, some of the companies like Freeman and GES have almost doubled. So that, $5 per item ends up being $7, $8, $9 per item. And I don't think we think of that. So definitely low swag, smaller items, or just not doing it at all is the biggest thing I've been surprised by this year.
Yeah. And things that I've seen too are people are asking for things like scratch-its or gift cards or stuff like that. That's like really, really small, can be used in multiple cities or locations. The international part's a little bit tricky. And the gamification too in the booths, people are talking about that still. I would say that's similar to 2022, but it's if you do a thing, you kind of have to do a thing now this year to get a thing. Anybody else?
Yeah, I can go next. What I found is quite useful is like having kind of like if you have a big raffle, like having like a pre-survey form, you can already ask about your business, like company size, like kind of this like drill down stuff that kind of makes it easier for your SDR team to almost kind of build in and be like, oh, okay, that could be a hot lead to kind of follow up on. And yeah, really that digitalization, I think the QR codes made more of a comeback, not that it was completely gone, but yeah, I think the paper forms that you saw years ago, people are just wanting it quick and like they're straight away. Also another strategy, what I do if I have like a speaking session or if there's some like raffles kind of happening, things around the booth, I would say like after like the first day, like come back, like here's a hot reminder, send it like 7 a.m. when they're having their coffee. So you're already like top of the mind for like those really interested leads to like really come back and like learn more about your company.
Yeah, that's great. Is anyone else doing that? Sending an email the next day? We typically don't do that. Most of our companies don't, but just curious if anybody else is.
I kind of just use it if I have something good to say or like kind of hot reminders, but not every time.
Yeah, especially if you had a session like, thanks for stopping by our booth yesterday. It was great, connecting. And as a reminder, we'd love for you to attend our talk.
Yeah, for sure.
Later today or tomorrow.
We've used it to invite to like happy hours that we have like the next day or something too. Be like, hey, reminder, come stop by our happy hour.
Yeah, we did similar thing, but we would try to like close them right at the booth. If it's a great fit, we would invite them to the following after party or by invite only dinner or something like that. Definitely like close the next step, basically, inviting them to something proper, better drinks. Better food or something like that. Yeah. Actually, what just occurred to me? Maybe someone can do that. Maybe I'll do it next time. Sorry. It just dawned on me. So I recently ordered these the subscription boxes with the food. I ordered some fish. And fascinating thing that the installation things, that they inserted in the box is dissolving. Like you put it in the water and it dissolves. So, and you can use it to actually pour it like to water your plants, because it's a super organic, natural thing. So I was thinking, imagine making the swag like something from this similar materials. Basically, you give it away with a QR code that will take you to the gift card or something like that. And just instead of tossing it out and like, throwing it away, you can dissolve it in the water. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like it's a great idea to kill two birds with one stone, don't you think?
Yeah, and they have that with seeds in them too. Sometimes the paper with the seeds, it's kind of fun.
Exactly. Yeah. So you can replant it or something like that. So.
So
Mhm.
other things that I've noticed is giving away like stuff for kids. So like we have this little octopus and then it has our logo.
Oh, I
and
remember
our
those
logo.
at the reInvent. Yeah. They're
Yeah, so we
cute.
have that kind of stuff, and then people take it home, and then usually their kids play with it, so then they somehow always remember, which is a cheap way to make people keep stuff.
For the kids, for the what I've noticed was popular the pets toys for the dogs or or cats. Have you noticed that? Yeah.
Yeah, but I hate squeakers because I have 2 dogs, so less squeakers the better.
This is why it's so quiet right now.
All right. Does anyone have anything else to share about kind of trends that they've seen? I know we're kind of just new into that new year, but I agree with everything that people are saying. But anything else?
I think something that we're pushing a lot internally is like the swag needs to have a purpose. It needs to be functional. Like we're trying to stay away from like just swag for the sake of swag, which if you saw us at reInvent is a little bit of a 180. We had a lot of swag at reInvent, but that's something we're pushing internally this year. Is just if it's there, it either connects to the theme, it has a purpose, it's more functional than it just looking pretty.
Yeah, agreed. I think
I
most
think that's
budgets
a
are
huge
just
one.
cut. Yeah, most budgets have been cut. So and plus we all have been going to shows for years and years and years. And a lot of these people have been going to shows for years and years. When everybody came back after COVID, everyone was like, yay, we're back. But now we are back and everybody's loaded up on all that stuff. So I think people are now kind of like, meh, I'm good. I got my swag. Well, cool. Thanks for your feedback. So, and I think too, one thing that we try to focus on is smaller items so that like Megan was saying, the shipping and handling and the weight and all that stuff is lower. It's lower on your footprint in your booth stays tidier. So that's something that we're focused on. Megan, let's dive into swag best practices.
Okay. So these are just a couple things that I keep in mind when I'm ordering swag. The first and foremost is to start that conversation early, especially during and even post-COVID. It's been really difficult to find things on a reasonable timeline, and things that you think would just be available are suddenly gone. I know late last year we were looking at, for example, like we just needed some black t-shirts for an event, and we needed like 30 for a small happy hour for staff shirts. Couldn't find them in any of our preferred brands and styles. It was a whole thing to get 30 black t-shirts. So when you book an event and you're starting to think about getting into the planning, like swag should be at the top of your list. Decide early, order early. Even if you order super early and they just hold it for you until the warehouse opens, it's better to do that than just not be able to get anything or paying rush shipping and things like that. Payment is something that's come up for us since we do use a lot of third parties. We're kind of, going to multiple vendors. This started about halfway through 2022, where a lot of vendors now are charging the 3% credit card fee. I don't know if anyone else has encountered that. I know Sock Club was a big one that came up. We placed a very large order for someone last year for socks, and we are like, oh, that seems really reasonable. And then it was like a 3 to 5%. Oh, now you have to pay the credit card fee. And I was like, well, that feels wild. You're a giant company, but okay. If you have like an ACH process in place, getting that adapted to be able to pay vendors and order things, which it's also helpful when you're ordering early too, that you have time for that. But that's something to keep in mind that's been coming up a lot. And it adds a lot if you're ordering huge quantities of something. Shipping, I don't know about anybody else, but shipping has been all over the place this year. So that factors into ordering early and just getting things where they need to be as soon as they can. I think every single shipment I have done in 2023 has been late, lost, damaged, or is still somewhere. I have 2 boxes that were shipped to Austin 6 weeks ago that the UPS truck got in an accident, and then the boxes are somewhere. They're still looking for them. So yeah, please, I encourage you highly to plan ahead for shipping, because it is wild out there. UPS is just like they're just like, wow, we don't feel like it. That's been the theme of this year. Let's see, materials handling. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm always shocked at how much it costs to have things received. And it wasn't until probably midway through last year where I really started paying attention to how much they charge for that. Freeman is pretty standard per events, and they don't have a lot of like special handling charges and surcharges and things. And they do a reasonable like small box or fee or whatever versus by weight. But GES, not us, GES, the other event warehousing team, they are outrageous. It's, for example, if you ship like a small box to an event, it's usually like a $65 charge, and then they charge you special handling because it didn't come in on a pallet. So that $30 item you shipped from Amazon, and this is speaking from experience, I shipped something that was $30 to Orlando last year, and the materials handling for it was almost $200 for a $30 gel mat from Amazon. So those are things I think at least I am now paying more attention to. You guys may have been paying attention this whole time, but that's a huge factor in, your overall swag budget. You really need to account for that. Yes, Chris, advanced warehouse versus show site is also a huge thing. Some of the companies, GES is also really bad about this. They'll just straight refuse it if it gets there late. They won't just shift it to the show site, or they charge, it's like $2 more a pound or something outrageous. So definitely pay attention to that. And then planning out your return shipping in advance and like what's happening to your stuff. I think a lot of you probably have like a dedicated warehouse where things go back via postal or wherever. But if you don't, figuring out all of that on site is a giant pain in the butt. And if you're proactive about it, you can ship via UPS or FedEx and avoid going through Freeman or GES. Freeman recently acquired a shipping company, or they were acquired by, there's some sort of partnership they have now. So for example, KubeCon North America, regardless of the size of the box, it was a $279 flat fee to ship a box out of KubeCon NA just to wherever. So it's convenient to ship out just via them, but if money is a factor, and I think it is for everyone this year, like be proactive and maybe, schedule a pickup, print your own return labels. Don't go through Freeman or GES or what's the other one? I don't remember the one that reInvent used. But yeah, those are things to consider and ways to save money, because it really adds up, especially if you're shipping a lot of stuff. Oh yeah, bring your own duffel bag. I hand carry so much stuff now. Now that I have status on airlines and I get all those free check bags, I'm hand carrying everything. Oh, mostly because I don't trust anyone either. So
yeah,
but those are things that I do. Then kind of the list I go through when I'm considering swag for events. Would love to hear everyone else's, because I'm cheap and I'm efficient, and I love tips that are contribute to that. So
yeah, let's hear it. Anybody? Anyone?
The only The only thing comes to mind, I agree with you because I used to work for a very teeny tiny business myself, and we would carry everything with us, including this roll up banners and stuff like that. And it was way cheaper than shipping it with anything. So I'm thinking, you know, how you're, and probably we all have like frequent flyers, miles, whatever. And for instance, with Delta, you can bring like 2 suitcases for free. So, and you know, when you pack light, so you can have all your stuff in carry-on. Just put everything else into free suitcases, basically. And now, what is it, like 50 pounds or something like that? So, one of the ideas. But I actually have a question, maybe for maybe someone that knows and experienced. Megan, you mentioned that the UPS didn't really care about your lost package and all that. Have you guys considered putting like an insurance or something like that? Because I mean, losing your materials is one thing, but losing like money because you basically, you need to reorder and like rush fees and all that. Have you ever tried like pushing, like putting insurance or like buying insurance to cover materials?
That depending on what method you're using, there's usually some sort of insurance included. A lot of times the stuff we're shipping, well, not a lot of times, but sometimes the stuff we're shipping is for that specific event. So if it gets lost, it's like, well, we can try. They eventually find stuff with UPS, so I've never had to file a claim there. I did have to file 2 claims with Freeman last year. One of them I filed in August, and I'm still waiting for a response. So don't love that. The other one was a box I shipped to my house from CubeCon NA via Freeman, and it got to the dock here in Portland, and then the Portland dock lost it. It was like $600. It was stress balls, but it was a huge box of them, and those are expensive. They lost it, and per the carrier agreement with Freeman and the dock, because it basically they didn't reimburse the full amount of the value of the item. They do, it's like $5 per pound, and because it was stress balls, it didn't weigh more. I think it was like 18 pounds. So we got just under $100 for $700 of stress balls that they lost. They admitted they lost. It was a whole thing. So another reason to not use Freeman or any of the show providers for shipping. I think you would have better luck with UPS or FedEx, especially if it's insured. But the way that like Freeman and stuff, it's like they ship it, and so they're technically the customer, and then you have to, it was a whole thing. So
yeah, I'm just thinking maybe adding like extra layer of insurance there, you know, not using one of those insurances, but like legit bring your own insurance. Is that like, in case of the lost package, like it's insured and I'm getting everything back, something like that.
If I'm shipping something expensive like AirPods or something we've done to events, then I definitely insure for the full value. But typically the included insurance with UPS or FedEx is about what the actual value is, so I don't pay for extra. But I've had to file claims with USPS, and that's gone well. So I would hope that UPS would be the same, but thankfully I've never had anything go like fully missing forever.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Where did my list go? Oh no, Lisa, I lost my list. There
I just sent it to you.
Okay, so best practices. Yeah, really just anything that makes things easier and cheaper, I'm all for. Also, it kind of adjacent to that, this is more like a booth item, but getting furniture and things from like Amazon or IKEA and having them delivered. I'm a huge fan of spending the extra 20 minutes to assemble something on site to save hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars. I don't know. I know that not everyone has that time or commitment, but especially for me, like that's what I'm being sent to an event to do, is set up that booth. I'm always on board with finding like wire cube shelving on Amazon. You can take those in a checked bag. They're 30, $40 depending on the size, and it's hundreds of dollars cheaper than getting a cube shelf from an event. So those are other ways that I like to be cheap, not swag related, but I guess storing swag and those things. So it's related, but love doing that. Yeah, Freeman is ridiculous. And I don't know what it was about CubeCon NA, but the prices there were the most expensive thing I've ever seen. So we brought everything. We rented nothing. It was like what do they call it? A model home at a new subdivision at some of our booths, because it was putting furniture together all day.
Yeah, bring your tools, people, and
Yeah,
order that furniture.
I have a little travel toolkit. I have a bag of box knives and Allen wrenches and all of
Yep,
those things.
I
that
have a
take.
hammer. Yep, our whole box. Yes.
But what do? You said you buy it and bring it with you, so you bring it back with you. So let's say if you need to put furniture together. How do
No,
you do
for
that?
a lot of shows now they let you donate stuff. Like CubeCon especially always has a room where you can donate like leftover t-shirts, any furniture. reInvent did that where you could put donation tags on it. The cube shelving, I prefer the wire ones because then you can disassemble it, and we do keep that for some of our clients. Or if they don't want it, then I bring it home because I always got stuff to store. Cats love climbing on it, put it together for them. But if the client doesn't want it, it's not something that I want or I can take with me, then there's almost always a donation process now. And if they don't advertise it, definitely ask. You can go to like the exhibitor thing and they usually have stickers you just put on it. And even if you just put free, like a lot of times the like the contractors and stuff they're tearing down, they'll take that stuff home. We've been asked multiple times, like, you gonna keep that? Can I have it? Yes, please take it. So
yeah, I was just curious because I know there is like the stickers where you can basically indicate that you donated it, but I'm just curious, like in your experience, what your clients usually they want to keep it, or they just okay with donation. Okay, gotcha.
It's
Thank you.
actually cheaper.
yeah,
to
most of them
not
just
keep
donate
it.
it.
Yeah, it's cheaper not to keep it because then number one, they have to then we bill by the hour a lot of times. So then we have to bill that time to take it down and then to ship it somewhere. And then it has to be warehoused and then shipped back. It's more affordable just to let it go.
Okay, yeah. So it's basically cheaper keep buying new stuff and building it yourself rather than because I'm aware of shipping prices and they're ridiculous. Like I feel like it's a great business to jump into right now and make like a lot of money. But it is crazy. Yeah, I agree.
I will say it's not the most green, obviously. So if we're going to, 20 shows for a client and we're buying 20 IKEA shelves, like those 20 IKEA shelves are going to end up somewhere. So making sure that your client is aware of their footprint as we're doing that, they're okay with it, it makes sense. And then trying to come up with alternatives. Like they do have, like Costco has these bags essentially that pop right up, the swag can go in and then they pop right down. So it really does need to be a conversation of what the client is wanting.
Well, should we talk about swag items, like stuff that we like, stuff that we've seen, stuff that is super successful? I always love getting new ideas because I'm not that creative. I can't come up with cool stuff. So
completely disagree. Yeah, I'd love to talk about what people think is cool for right now. I don't know why, but socks were like the rage at the beginning of last year. It was like a sock for a sock for a sock. Wondering if people are still doing that. I know all of our clients, the first thing they say it feels like is, let's do socks. Socks worked really great last year. It's like, well, really? Like, can we do something different? And what would that stuff be? So Megan, do you have ideas you want to start off with? And anyone feel free to chime in.
I think socks are still a big hit. As far as price point goes, I think they're a good quality item that people will use. And people do love to show them off at shows. And especially if you're ordering enough of them, the per item price is really good for what you're getting, something high quality made in the US that's completely custom branded. I don't think you can beat that. Something we've done this year for a client is a branded soccer scarves, which was not something I'd ever thought of doing. And I live in Portland and I'm a Timbers fan, and I have like 13 Timbers scarves, and it never occurred to me like, oh, I could get those made for a client. And so we did, and it was really fortunate that the first couple of their events this year were in big soccer cities like Austin, Orlando, and they were a huge hit. And per item, I think we only ordered 100 at a time, and they were $10 each, and you can fully custom. They have different tiers of quality, so you can get like the really plush fuzzy ones that are a little more expensive, or you can do like a sublimated print, which I didn't love. They look very cheap. But yeah, for $10 and even less if you get more of them, that's a great branded item. And then people will wear them at the reception. So I loved that. I've been trying to really get people to do the reusable, like packable bags, like a bagu sort of thing. I don't know if anyone's familiar with bagu. There's always a lot of like vinyl or cheap canvas bags at an event, which is great, but I don't see those being used after, especially because they're usually like awkward sizes. But the packable ones are so great. You can just put them in a basket on your counter or a podium, whatever you have in your booth. And then I got 2 of them at CubeCon, and I use them almost every day. I love them, and price point wise, they're very similar to the canvas ones. So I think those are really great. Those are kind of my top 3. Sorry, Lisa, I'm still a fan of socks.
I'm just curious because I mean, I love them. We have 3 boys, so I do grab the socks. They think they're great. It's super fun. So I don't even know how many pairs I have. So it's good to know I'll be collecting more in 2023. What about other people? Are you seeing, like, I keep seeing them. I don't know if Instagram is like stalking me, but these calm strips, and then there's like a calm keychain, like this good vibes, healthy type swag related items. Are people seeing that being a trend that's coming in? Crickets. So maybe it's just they're stalking me. Maybe I
think they're stalking you.
Maybe I'm stressed and I
was going to say maybe you're just too stressed.
They think they know.
It's this constant work towards work-life balance. So anybody else? Ola, what are your clients coming and bringing to shows? Are they doing anything cool?
Well, I haven't done anything this year. I mean, not there yet. We're not like working on swag yet. They're more like general stuff. But I really like the what was it? Harness. They did the baseball caps. I think thinking towards customization, less like subtle branding that is not like Gucci,
yeah,
like all over your head, or like t-shirt, something very subtle, very stylish, and custom, like with your name on it. Once we did, I work with this company. I'm happy to share them their contact info. So they are a t-shirt company, but what they do, they bring their what they call them, ink screens to your event. Ricky, you know what I'm talking about. And then they basically customize with your event or your brand t-shirts, and then screen printing, exactly. But it's done right there on the show floor, and it looks amazing because it's like, oh wow, like you can literally see how it's done, and you need to kind of pre-order designs. And what we did, because I was running this conference, and we ordered like few different designs with our logos and our like some one-time logos and one-time taglines and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool because it was sort of custom, pre-made, but still custom, and it was incredibly popular among attendees. It was like it was a hit for sure. Yeah, socks, I don't know. I guess it's something that you definitely use, like you wear it, or you can give it to someone. So yeah, I think the customization and the more environmentally friendly, I think that is very important too. So
Yeah, I just want to plus one to that subtle branding. We rebranded last year, and now our branding is very like fresh and modern, but like everything that we do produce, some items don't even have our name on it. It's just a quality item that they like connect with our branding. And for our socks, we actually switched from crew socks to athletic socks. And those have been the bigger hit than we had for our crew socks, which is really nice.
Interesting. I know, Ricky, so perfect timing for you to chime in. Pins were a very big hit in 2022. We had them all up and down our lanyards. They were custom and fun. Do we think pins are going to be back?
I'm hoping they continue to be a thing. I always put it on my own lanyards when I'm at an event. And people are like, oh, what are these? I'm like, oh, they're pins you can stick on. And they're like, oh, okay, neat. And then that kind of just like draws them in. Like, here's an example. I'm already wearing it. And for those, I like to have like a catchy saying. And those are some items that like may not always have my name on it, Mesmo, but there's like a separate pin. I'm like, oh, you want a branded pin? That one says our name, but the other ones are just cool designs that you can have and associate with our branding.
Yeah,
I think it could be a great conversation starter, you know, something provocative, you know, and I don't know, something like, oh, what's that?
I'll definitely plus one to that. For HashiCorp, we have an 8-product suite, and each of their products has their own pin. And so we have a lot of pins that we carry from show to show. A couple of things we did is like what Ricky said, I put them all up and down my lanyard. And what's really nice of our product suite is every product has its own color associated. So when everything together is like a rainbow, it's really bright, really eye-catching, everyone. And so they'll come and collect one, but then they'll grab stickers of other colors. And I always encourage them to collect them all, kind of like Pokemon. And one thing we did at reInvent is we did, as part of a swag item, we did have pins and specific to the product at the kiosks in which the products were mentioned, but we also created little like pin kits. So like in little velveteen bags with our logo, it was like pre-selected, pre-packaged kit of one of each of our pins plus our logo pin. And so that was easier to just kind of give people the pin kits, and people were really interested in that versus having to go collect the pins at each kiosk. And so we made that a really fun experience with the velveteen bag, and it felt really luxurious. But also, yeah, I hope pins stay because we have a lot of them.
Yeah.
Have your pins.
Yeah, absolutely, Ricky.
I've ordered a million of your pins.
I bet.
Awesome.
I think
oh, go ahead, Megan.
So for pins, I think pins work super well if you have like a fun mascot for your logo, like Gremlin has the little Gremlin guy. I don't remember who this was, honestly. All the companies are kind of blend together, but there was like this skateboard one.
I think that might be Ricky.
Is this you, Ricky?
That was mine, subtle branding, but just like
oh, okay. Yeah,
I have that one too.
I stocked the booth in Valencia last year for that one, and you guys had the Ray. I have that one. I don't remember who this is, but they have like a little duck. There was someone at KubeCon that had their logo or their mascot was a shark, and I think they had 8 or 9 different pins with different kinds of sharks. There was like a skeleton shark, a Princess Leia shark. I don't think pins work super well unless you have something really engaging like that. And that's also my opinion for shirts, but I have a lot of opinions about shirts. So
I have one question too. I know it's not necessarily swag, but food seemed to make a big comeback towards the end of last year. Everybody had food at their booths at KubeCon, and that was new because with COVID for a while, nobody had food. So are people going to do that? Like, we've explored like sparkling water so people can come and refresh or what have you. Are people leaning into food this year because of budget? They're not.
I do entertain the idea, but by entertain, I mean, how much does it really cost? Because the price goes up really, really quick. And one issue that I saw at a conference in February is that people had food at their booth, but in the center of the aisle was the exact same food given by the conference. So like trying to find something that's distinct, like that sparkling water is likely not something that they're going to offer on the show floor.
And would you do food versus swag? So would the food be your swag item then you can cut out like that expense and change that budget in a different way? Or is it all, you do all the above?
Personally, I would see it as like an add-on. So maybe during the booth crawl, it's hosted during those 2 hours. And that's kind of like the driver to like bring traffic to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've thought about it where it's like in the morning you can come by and get the donuts, right? And then you still have those conversations and get the stickers or whatever. And then we usually skip lunch because everyone's all over the place. And the afternoon you might do like a refresh with like sliced limes and like a refreshing sparkling lemon water with like little spritz of juice on top that they can choose. But now that COVID is gone, just curious with budget, if people are choosing still to go that route or not. Sounds like likely not, but that
A lot
was
of
just interesting.
events, I've noticed, don't let you bring your own food. If you do food, it has to be catered through them, which then you're paying hotel prices, $9 a can of soda, and it's not worth it. I've also been burned in AWS summits are really guilty of this, where they're like, marketing add-ons, cater your booth, have wine, beer, and then they also have food and wine and beer and cocktails sponsored by the event. So you're just there at a table with full of wine that you paid for that nobody wants because they're also getting it from the event. So it's always, if you're gonna do food, always make sure, one, what the event is actually catering, if anything, and then two, can you bring in whatever you want? Like the branded cans of sparkling water, like I really want to do those for someone because I think it's a great opportunity to do like a really cool graphic, but they haven't been at any of the clients that have been interested in it haven't been doing events that would allow them to bring in their own food, so, or drinks or whatever. So it's usually you have to do it through the event, which is really expensive, or you just can't, and that's a bummer. But
Yeah,
do love
definitely
food.
ask. Yeah, definitely ask for sure if you're gonna consider it.
One last thing, I do want to give a shout out to having a coffee station. Those seem to be really successful.
Yeah, we did coffee station in Anaheim last year. We did it outside actually, but AWS, they jumped on this opportunity and charged us 10K for this idea of ours. So we were like, well, shit. So we ended up paying a lot, but it was amazing because what we did, we basically put the coffee station outside of the convention center on the way there. So in the morning, every attendee would stop and get a free coffee with our sleeve before even entering the venue. So they were like, brand ambassadors walking around with the sleeve that was branded. But another idea I was thinking, it's a great question, Chris. Like you asked if it's instead of swag or like it's on top of the swag. I actually, have you seen those Evian bottles that can be customized actually with like names, brands and stuff like that, but they can be reused as well. So imagine you just put those bottles there and they're swag and sort of drinks and food actually there, but they're so cool and they look expensive and they are expensive, so I think they can be used as both, as a water like hydration plus a branding like swag, especially for the for any events in Vegas. We were making jokes actually last year at the reInvent that we need to create something like moisturizing hydration kit for staff and for every attendee, with the lip gloss. Like chapstick would probably fly off the shelves there, and the moisturizer for your like for the hands. So we thought that for Vegas in November, December, that would be perfect. Well, in the summer too.
Yeah, I know. I spent an afternoon like searching for chapstick and I couldn't find any. And I finally had to go to a mini mart because I was like, I'm so dehydrated. So that's now y'all know what to get for your AWS swag.
That's a cool swag too.
Yeah. All right, Megan, anything else that you want to cover? We are at time, so I think we're probably good. I don't want to be my worst enemy and go over our time, which I am struggling with every single meeting nowadays. But Megan, any final closing words?
No, just be intentional with whatever you decide to do, and plan early. Early is going to save you money, time, and stress. But that's true for a lot of things. So just be more intentional, be more thoughtful about what you're doing, and then plan early. Those are my two key insights. I'm sure.